Eric here with the Paperback Warrior blog and podcast. In this video, I decided to take a little trip and a tour of Jacksonville, Florida's Chamblin Bookmine. Now, I've talked about this store on the podcast numerous times, and I've probably even mentioned the name in videos, but I wanted to give you a sort of inside peek at just what this store has to offer. My focus on this trip was on the Western section, which consists of about 3 or 4 long shelving units stacked floor to ceiling with lots and lots of Westerns. So let's go inside and take a look and see what we can find. First off, we have the Tracker series. The book covers and the store sign suggest that these books are by Tom Cutter, but in reality, this was the late, great Robert Randisi using a pseudonym. There were 7 total Tracker adult Western novels between 1983 through 1985. The store had the White Apache series, which was authored by David Robbins as Jake McMasters. This series ran 10 novels from 1993 through 1996, and I think they're all available on Kindle now. Here's Charo by Harry Whittington. This was originally published by Fawcett Gold Medal and was adapted to a film starring Elvis Presley in 1969. The Canyon O'Grady series is stacked in here as well. This series was published by Signet beginning in 1989. It ran a total of 25 books before folding in 1993. Now, most of this series was authored by John Messman of The Trailsmen, but Chet Cunningham and Robert Randisi also contributed to the installments as well. Here you see they had a lot of the Apache series. This title ran between 1974 through 1984, and ended up with 27 total installments. It was authored by both Terry Harknett and Lawrence James using the pseudonym of William M. James. As you can see here, there's lots and lots of Cheyenne paperbacks. This was a series published in the 1990s by Leisure and authored by John Edward Ames using the pseudonym of Judd Cole. And as you can see, there's a lot of Edge Western paperbacks. The complete Kung Fu series is here. Now, these were published by Warner in 1973 and 1974. There were a total of 4 books, and they were authored by Howard Lee, and I'm not really sure who that is. Of course, these were based on the television series starring David Carradine. Now, I never liked this show. Even when I was a kid and I was really into martial arts and ninjas, I just never got into this show. Like, the constant flashbacks just drove me nuts. Good God Almighty, here's a wall of wilderness paperbacks. This was a paperback series of Westerns published by Leisure, written by David Robbins under the name David Thompson. Robbins wrote a number of series titles, also including End World. Last I heard, there were about 70 of these wilderness books, and they may still be published today, I'm not sure. And this may be the most Trailsmen in one place that I've ever seen. I couldn't even capture all of them in this photo. There's more on the top shelf there, and I'm betting dollars to donuts that the cardboard boxes on the floor there are probably filled with more Trailsman books. They can't give these away. That's not really a knock on the books or authors, it's just the sheer volume of inventory. It's way too many books. And here's another massive amount of Westerns. This is the Spur title. There's no way on earth that they can move even a fourth of these books. This was a series published by Leisure, I think. There were 42 total installments from 1982 through 1995, plus a few Spur doubles and Spur giants all the way through 1996. The author's name on the cover is Dirk Fletcher, and no, this wasn't some kind of porn star that's turned Western writer. Dirk Fletcher was really Chet Cunningham. Here's another massive amount of Stagecoach station Westerns that will probably never sell. Again, that's not to disparage the quality of the writing, it's just a case of over-inventory. This series was published between 1982 through 1991 under the name of Hank Mitchum. Now, this was really just James Reesner, although I'm not sure if he wrote the entire series himself or if there were other names brought in under that Hank Mitchum name. Stringer was a series published between 1987 and 1989 by Charter. Some of you may remember Charter from the Nick Carter Killmaster series. The author was Lou Cameron, and surprisingly, he's using his own name on these covers. I've never tried this series, but I think the hero is a journalist that's assigned hot leads that turn into Western adventures. Sort of like Dan Streeb's Hawk series, where I think he was a journalist or maybe like a playboy or something, and he's thrust into wacky adventures. That series sucks. I'm not sure about Stringer. From 1975 until 2014, there were 430 installments of Slocum. That's a lot of land baron westerns. And I'm sure there's other types of adventures within this 430 book series, but I imagine a lot of them are land feuds or cattle feuds. Some land baron fighting some rancher to get more land so he can get water to his cattle. They come a dime a dozen. Chamblin's has about 3/4 of this entire series right here on this wall. These were all written by a revolving door of authors, and I would be surprised if this store could even sell a third of what they've got here. The same can probably be said for this insane wall of Long Arms, and Lone Star, and Gunsmith. And here's a series that I don't see nearly as much. This is the Cimarron series that began in 1983. It was published for 3 years by Signet and included a total of 22 installments. And here's another series that I don't see around too often. This is Lassiter, which was created and started by Todd Hunter Ballard, writing as Jack Slade. It was published between 1968 through 1990. After Ballard's departure came a slew of authors writing under the Jack Slade house name. Who wrote what is just anybody's guess. I've heard names like Tom Curry, John M. Flynn, and Peter Gamano, and also Ben Haas were all brought in under the Slade house name, but I don't really know. Additionally, the series has Zane Grey attached to the later entries, which had nothing to do with Zane Grey or his estate. And here's a bunch of paperbacks in the Fargo series by Ben Haas writing as John Benteen. So I did buy a couple books. Here's the first one that I got, Flaming Guns by Bert Author. Now, this book was originally published as Chenango Pass, and it's the third novel in what was a series starring Mustang Marshall. The other books in the series were The Black River and Valley of Death. According to Cutting Edge, which has reprinted this book as an ebook, the bandits in Chenango Pass didn't think twice about blowing off Sheriff Sims' head, because they knew nobody had the guts to chase them down. But then Mustang Marshall became the new lawman, and he was all guts. He built a jail and soon packed it with renegade scum, because nobody was above his law, not even the son of the territory's biggest outlaw. And that's when hell came raining down on the Mustang Marshall, and he fought back with flaming guns. It looks good. I probably should read the other books first, but I'll try this anyway. The other book that I bought is called Northwest Destiny, Distant Trails, Volume 1. This was a Western printed in 1988, and it's the first of a trilogy. This book, which covers 1805 through 1836, the second book was called Gathering Storm from 1837 to 1868, and the last one was Lost Wallowa from 1869 to 1879. The book was written by Bill Gulick, and he wrote a couple short stories and then a ton of books from the 1950s through the late 1990s. I think a couple of movies were also based off of his short stories and novels, so maybe he's due for a feature on a podcast soon. The synopsis of Northwest Destiny Distant Trails is: Northwest Destiny is the saga of two brothers whose lives were intertwined of different cultures joining forces. The synopsis of the book is: in 1805, young Matt Crane explored the vast Northwest frontier with Lewis and Clark. There he met the Nez Perce, I might be saying that wrong, maiden he would always love, and fathered the boy child he would never know. Then he returned to the white man's world forever changed. In St. Louis, the explorer married and started a new family, never believing that his second son, John, and his half-breed son, Tallbird, would one day meet face to face. And there you have it. That was the trip to the Jacksonville Chamblin's. I didn't even take photos of like the standalone westerns and some of the other series. I'll do that later, but I was in kind of a hurry, so I just wanted to take those photos of those series titles and the bulk of their inventory. It's just insane. But I appreciate you watching the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned to the Paperback Warrior blog for tons and tons of reviews, podcast episodes, and links to more videos.